Good evening and welcome back to the J Train. We are in the midst of our pledge drive, and we've got a very special guest joining us on the line right now, Jason Marsalis. Jason Marsalis will be at Jazz in June tomorrow evening. And Jason, can you hear me?
I'm glad that you can hear me. Good evening. How is everything?
We're doing good. We are in the midst of our fundraising drive here at KZUM Community Radio, so we're maybe you could lead us off on a spirited appeal to call in and support jazz music.
Oh, well, absolutely. I think that right now it's a very important time to support the music because really what I've discovered, especially just doing workshops and talking to people from the country, is that music right now, unfortunately, is being devalued, meaning is that it's something that not a lot of people really invest in or really listen to. And it's very unfortunate because there's so many great things that come out of really listening to and investing in music. And it's unfortunate that not a lot of people see that. So I think that that's why right now, more than ever, it's definitely important to invest in jazz music and just any music really, but especially jazz, and to donate to jazz radio. I think the more people that discover the music, I think the better off that they are, and also just it's better for them to realize the music, the greatness of this music that has been created.
Oh, well said. Thanks, Jason. Well, if you're just joining us, Jason Marsalis is my guest on the phone line. He will be playing tomorrow evening at Jazz in June, and in fact, this is a bittersweet moment because it's the last Jazz in June we have for this season, and then we've got to wait another 11 months. But let's talk about the music, Jason. One question I had right off the bat was you, of course, come from a very rich jazz family. Your brothers Wynton and Branford and Delfeo, all very well-known names in jazz. But I was reading a bit about your background, and you've gone off on a lot of different paths that have taken you to work in Brazilian ensembles. It said somewhere that you were part of a Celtic group. I'm curious to know how you came to these different strands that aren't necessarily identified with jazz a lot of times.
Yeah, well, first thing is that I think that when it comes to the family as musicians, we're interested really in whatever kind of gig that is required to play. Because the truth is that even when my older brothers were coming along, the music that they were actually playing most of the time was really the funk bands of the day, such as Earth, Wind and Fire, Kool and the Gang, and Tower Power, and music of that nature. I mean, that's what it was. That in fact it's funny because even like earlier recordings of Wynton, like his trumpet sound actually comes more out of funk records than as musicians, to be honest. So it's about what it is that makes us better musicians and what music will bring us to that point. Now, in my own personal experience, it really has to do with following the music that I discovered. Because I think that everybody discovers music, but not everybody follows that. So, for example, I remember being in high school and I was flipping channels, and there was a local New Orleans show. I think it was a New Orleans music show, then it was called Louisiana Jukebox. But anyhow, I turned it on one night, and there was this Brazilian drum group, and it was a group called KZUM, led by Curtis Fier. And I remember at the time, this is high school, and I said at the time, at some point, I'm going to hook up with these people. I don't know when, but it will happen. And sure enough, while I was in college, they came to the school I was attending, Loyola University, and I met him. And I said, man, it's great to hear y'all. At some point, I would like to get together with y'all. And I eventually did. I started going to practice this and learning about that music, and that's one way that happened. Meanwhile, while I was at Loyola University, I believe it was the first ever recital hour that I attended at that school. The band that comes out is this Irish band. I'm like, what is going on? You're expecting classical music, but turns out it was a woman named Beth Patterson, interesting. She went to Loyola, and she was playing oboe in the concert band and orchestra, but she also played bouzouki and could play Irish music and Irish jigs and so forth. As far as her music, I really played on a few recordings. I only really had seen her a few times. I've seen her play, and I haven't played with her group as much. I actually would like to, but it was just a few recordings where they needed some percussion, and I participated in that. But as far as the two examples you mentioned, I mean, that's how it happens. I mean, there's a lot of music that I've discovered over the years, but I make sure to follow that path and to learn more about it.
If you're just joining me, my guest on the studio line is Jason Marsalis, and he's going to be playing, he and his group will be playing tomorrow evening at Jazz in June. If you've not yet been, this is your final chance to go to Jazz in June. It's been a great season thus far, and I'm sure that will continue tomorrow night. I'm kind of balancing a lot of plates here right now, so I wanted to also remind people that we are in the pledge drive, and this is KZUM, it's community-powered radio, and we have two of our wonderful DJs, Carter Van Pelt and Mike Carlin, here in the studio to take your phone call. I've got that challenge. The gauntlet has been thrown down for anybody who would like to pledge at $50. I will match them or beyond. And the number for that is 402-474-5086. I believe right now Jeff is carrying, he's like our tugboat right now. He's kind of carrying a big load, so we need to lighten that a bit for him and have some other people support jazz and support community radio as well. Okay, Jason, tell me more about your recent or fairly recent interest in the vibraphone and just about the discovery of that instrument.
Well, it really started when I began to venture into the realm of percussion. Violin was my first instrument, actually, with playing classical music, and then I played drum set playing jazz. But one day I was in a junior youth orchestra which had a percussion section, and I had never seen that before. So when I discovered that, the following year, the violin came to an end, and I started pursuing percussion, such as timpani and snare drum and crash cymbals and bass drum, et cetera, et cetera. And so one day my father suggested to me that I should check out the vibes because I was doing percussion, and that's a part of the percussion family, and so that was an instrument he felt I should investigate. And when I thought about it, I said, yeah, you're right, actually. Now, this is in high school, and honestly, my practicing was very off and on, very inconsistent, a little too inconsistent than it should have been, actually. But it wasn't until later on, it was the year of 2000, when I looked at the set and said, man, I really need to start playing this instrument and really start practicing and trying to get some things together, because I felt that there was some things from a vocabulary standpoint that I could contribute to the instrument. And so that's what started that. And I'm still working on it, but at least I have a band, and I have records coming out and recordings that I will continue to keep working on and releasing.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about one of those recordings, which is the 2013 album you put out called In a World of Mallets. I confess I haven't had the chance to listen to the whole thing yet because I just bought it a couple of days ago. But is that sort of the sound that we'll hear from the ensemble tomorrow night at Jazz in June?
Yes, mostly we've been playing music from that recording, and also our latest recording, the 21st Century Trad Band. And so now also on those records, there's some mallet overdubs that I do, where I play vibes, but I also play marimba, xylophone, glockenspiel, tubular bells, all sorts of things. But tomorrow night we will be playing tunes, which is really a mixture of things. We'll do some originals of mine, some originals of the band members, and we'll do some standard songs as well. So it'll be really a mix of old and new.
Excellent. Well, tell you what, Jason, I've got the whole album queued up from In a World of Mallets, and I thought I would turn it over to you. If you had a couple songs to recommend for us to play here, what do you think would be some exemplars?
I think one song that's radio-friendly is a tune that is actually a favorite of my wife's, and of a lot of people, just because it's a song that's based in classical music, but it ventures into the jazz realm. And whatever other realm of music we bring into it, it's fine. And it's a piece entitled Ballet Class.
Okay, I see it right here, track number 3.
Yes.
Well, Jason, I want to just extend a thank you and really appreciate on the short notice taking some time to talk to us here at the J Train. And, you know, if Wynton is ever interested in coming on the show, he's got a spot.
Sure.
But no, in all seriousness, it was great to have you, and I look forward to meeting you tomorrow night and to hearing you and the group. And we'll exit with Ballet Class from your 2013 recording In a World of Mallets.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason.